Blessings, everyone, and welcome to Body Rhythms. Today, we're going to talk about dehydration. Most people don't even think about dehydration unless it's summertime or unless they're an athlete or a runner, someone that knows for a fact that they're losing body fluids. What is dehydration? It's exactly that. It's when there's more water loss than fluids coming into our bodies. Our bodies are basically made up of over 75% water. So whenever that balance is thrown off, it interferes with the functioning of our body. Every single cell, every single blood vessel, and even the spaces in between, our organs, our joints, anything that is on our body uses water. It's almost like the gasoline for our bodies. When there's an imbalance, that's what's called dehydration. Now, the reason why dehydration is even important is because you can die from it. We can die from being dehydrated. And as I said, that's because our bodies are made up of 75% water. So if you were to break our bodies up into 4 equal parts, for those who don't know what 75% means, if you were to break our body up into 4 equal parts, 3 of them are made up of water. The rest is just tissue. So when you're dehydrated, you take away these 3 parts and you're just left with this. And there's why you can die. We need the fluids to operate our organs, as I said, our muscles, everything on our body depends on water. When we talk, when we breathe, when we sweat, when we urinate, when we defecate, anything that we do that involves our body is a potential for us to lose fluid. If we're not getting enough water in and the amount of water, as I said, that's going out is over, that's a cause of dehydration. Diarrhea actually is the top cause of dehydration that leads to death. Diarrhea, as you know, is your body just purging itself, and it's excessive water loss. Vomiting, when you're vomiting, you're expressing fluids, and the thing about vomiting is that when you're vomiting, you're not able to take in fluids, whereas with diarrhea, you can take it in. You're not keeping it in, but you can at least get it into your body. There's also diseases like diabetes that can cause excessive urination and through it excessive water loss from the body. Burns, if someone is a burn victim, the water from the body goes into the burn site to keep it hydrated and to replenish it, but what it does is it takes it from other parts of the body to put it to where the burn is. How do we know if we're dehydrated or in danger of becoming dehydrated? Our bodies give us signals. The most common is thirst. When most people feel thirsty, if they're in a position, they'll go and get something to drink. If they're at work, they may not be able to, but thirst is the first indicator. Another way that you can tell if you're approaching dehydration is the color of your urine. If your urine color is almost clear or very, very pale yellow, then your hydration levels are pretty good. But if your urine color is kind of dark, brownish tint like that, you may need to double up on your hydration. Some early indicators of dehydration could be something like a headache. Your brain requires water to function. Lethargic feeling, I don't want to say lazy, but unable to move. When you're just like, no energy, weak, almost weak. That can be an indicator. Dry mouth, dizziness, anything like that can be an indicator that you may be approaching dehydration. Muscle weakness, that's also a good indication that you may be a little dehydrated. Who is it that is really at risk? Because a lot of people say, well, it's not summer. I don't go outside. I don't exercise. I don't run. So I don't need to drink any water. But the reality is that men require about 13 cups of water per day for their bodies to function optimally, and women require about 9 cups a day. So if you're not getting at least that, you're putting your body in a position to work without fluids. It's like expecting your car to go without gasoline. It might go a little bit, but it's not going to get you all the way there. Athletes who run, because they sweat, their bodies are giving off water directly. You can see the sweat on them. Anyone with a chronic illness, like I said, such as diabetes, kidney issues, any issues affecting their adrenal glands. Alcoholism is one of the top contributors to dehydration. As you know, alcohol is a drying agent. So when you drink alcohol, you are drying your body out from the inside. You're drying your organs from the inside. And your liver, your kidneys, they suffer the most from the alcohol directly. Age can also be a factor in dehydration. Young babies, they can't get up and run and get water when they're thirsty, and so they rely on their parents. Now, if it's a parent, and I've seen this quite often, if it's a parent that isn't accustomed to drinking water, the poor baby may never get water. What they'll give them is formula, they'll give them juice, they'll give them soda before they give them water. I've seen that a lot too. Kids say, "Oh, I'm thirsty," and they give them soda or a juice box or something like that is not really good. Older people are at risk a lot of times because of mental issues. Things like Alzheimer's, they say that dehydration is a symptom of Alzheimer's, but I think it's the reverse. I think the dehydration causes the Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is loss of brain function. And as I said, our brains definitely need the water to function properly. What happens with older people is as they get older, they stop responding to their thirst signals. And the more you overlook that thirst signal, the more you bypass it and just ignore it, it stops to function. And eventually you won't even get the signal that you're thirsty anymore, because your body figures, well, she doesn't listen to that, so let's give her a different signal. And they'll give you headaches, they'll give you body aches, it might give you asthma, dry skin. There's so many other indicators that let us know when our bodies are dehydrated that we just simply overlook. When people's skin are dry, they run and get some lotion that they buy in the store that's filled with alcohol. And again, the way that the alcohol affects you internally is the way that it's going to affect you on the outside as well. Things like chapstick. When people's lips are dry, they run and get chapstick. They'll have 5 tubes of chapstick and not one glass of water. The chapstick is just a Band-Aid. You need to resolve the issue. The issue is dehydration. If you're needing to put chapstick on your lips every day, all day, you are severely dehydrated. And from what I understand, by the time that the signal for dehydration has reached your lips in the form of dry, cracked lips, your insides are extremely dry. So you may need to do some extra hydrating. Another way that they say you can tell is the skin test. If you're able to lift the skin of your hand and drop it and it goes back flat immediately, your hydration is pretty good. But if you pull the skin on the back of your hand and it stays up for a couple of seconds or even a half a second before going down, you are dehydrated. Up to now, all of the symptoms that I have mentioned are considered mild to moderate dehydration. Now, severe dehydration will show itself as lack of sweating, sunken eyes. You've seen them, people, their eyes look sunken in and under here is really, really dark. Their skin is not the color that it should be. It's more of a pale grayish tone. That's how you know the person is dehydrated. They may have low blood pressure. For babies, what they do is they look for that soft spot in their scalp. You know, that the soft spot before the skull gets together, and there's like this diamond-shaped soft spot. they'll look in there. And if it's sunken in, that's how they know the babies are dehydrated. If you have an increased heart rate, or if you are delirious, you could even pass out. So those are severe symptoms of dehydration. Now, how is dehydration even diagnosed? Dehydration is diagnosed a number of ways. Like I said, physically, a doctor will diagnose your dehydration physically, mentally, and at times they'll even do a blood test. So on the physical side, like I said, they'll look for signs like sunken in eyes. They'll look for excessively dry skin. They'll ask you how you're feeling, whether or not your mental alertness is sharp or not. As I said, sometimes they'll use a blood test, and with that blood test, they'll know whether or not your electrolyte levels are at where they need to be. They'll be able to know if your kidneys are functioning the proper way. They'll be able to know your potassium levels. These are all the things that contribute to keeping hydration in our bodies. And again, as I said, for babies, they look at the top of their head, that crown area, the soft spot, to see if it's sunken in. So, what are the treatments for dehydration? Clearly, the first treatment would be to replenish your fluids, so that you want to start drinking water right away. Clear fluids are the recommendation. So water, broth, sports drinks, anything that's going to replenish your hydration. Now, most people might think, oh, I'll get a soda and I'll be all right. You don't want to consume soda or coffee. Both of those things can at times contain caffeine. Caffeine, like alcohol, is a diuretic. It removes fluid from your body. So if you're drinking coffee to hydrate, there's really no point. It's not going to work. If you're drinking soda to hydrate, it's just going to make things worse. And in extreme cases, you may need to go to the hospital to get an IV, where they'll just put the fluid back into your body right away. And when they do, it's more of an electrolyte solution. So it gives your body everything that it needs all at one time. And again, that's for extreme dehydration. So what is the best way to deal with dehydration? Prevention. Drink water. If you listen to if you watched my body clocks video, then you saw that I said upon waking up, you are to drink water. If you can follow that, like every couple of hours throughout the day, you should be fine. The recommendation, like I said, is 13 cups for men, 9 cups for women. So try to gauge throughout the day how much fluid intake you're taking. Now, the other thing about hydrating yourself is that it doesn't always have to come from water. As I said, you can have soup broth. You can also have fruit. Lots of fruits and vegetables are comprised of mostly water. So when we eat them, we give our bodies the same fluid, so that you don't always have to just drink water. You can also have fruits. You can have vegetables, things like that are going to be a source of water to your body. Also, ice cubes. Sometimes you can just suck on ice. Some people don't like to drink water. Suck on an ice cube or an ice pop. Make yourself some type of fruity ice pop, but make sure it's pure. The thing is, you want to be mindful of when and where you're doing activities. If it's summertime, of course, you wouldn't want to be running in the hottest time of day, and you wouldn't want to be running without fluid. Take some water along with you, or a sports drink with you, so that you can replenish, because as you're running, you're sweating out most of your fluid. Throughout the day, just make sure you have water. Lots of people, like I said, only think of dehydration in the summertime. But in the wintertime, a lot of dehydration also happens as well. When we use heat, the heat is drying our bodies from the outside. So it's almost causing an evaporation effect. So, in the wintertime, when you have your heat on, your bodies are drying out. Pay special attention to hydrating yourself in the winter. And again, as I said, children and elderly, they're the ones that suffer the most from it. So if you have an elderly neighbor, or if you have some little kids around, make sure they're getting water, just water or fruit. If you have an elderly neighbor, you can bring a fruit basket if they're not inclined to drink water, just so that you let them know that you're thinking about them. So what is my recommendation? Again, prevention is the best solution to dehydration. You don't want to get so dehydrated that you end up in the hospital. And it's a very easy fix. Like I said, our bodies tell us when we need it. And also, if you just follow a regimen, drink water in the morning when you wake up, drink a glass before you go to work. When you get to work, drink one. Lunchtime, make sure you drink 2. When you get that break, drink 1. When you leave, drink 1. When you get home, drink 2. Okay, if you do it like that, you'll be fine. Now, some of you say, oh, if I drink that much water, I'm going to be peeing all day. Not so. For the first day, you might pee all day. The second day, you might pee a little. But by that third day, your body is going to be so grateful for the water that it's going to retain it. The reason why you pee so much the very first day is because your body is not used to it. It's gotten accustomed to just functioning on a small amount of water. So let's say you're accustomed to just drinking 1 or 2 cups of water, and you add 5 cups that day, your body's going to pee it out right away because it's saying, wait a minute, what's going on here? That's too much. But as you increase it to where it's supposed to be, your body is going to want it. So that was basically it. Thank you for joining me again. If you like my video, please like it. If you haven't already subscribed, please be sure to subscribe, share, and like. Thank you once again, and blessings.